Hello there my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars video. So I suppose you could say this one is a bit more controversial than usual, because we're going to be talking about something which I know a lot of fans despise, but bear with me, whether you love it or you hate it, I think you'll find it very interesting. So ever since Andor Season 2 came to an end, we haven't had too many opportunities as a fandom to really speculate, to really go all out the way we used to on fan theories. The Mandalorian and Grogu looks like a fun movie, but it doesn't leave much room for speculation. There have been a few fun theories about Star Wars Starfighter, but we still don't know enough about it, and some of the more recent rumours have dampened a lot of the discourse. There have been some fan theories around Ahsoka and Maul Shadow Lord, but today, we're going to be talking about a fan theory that spans over 100 years, something which incorporates the Acolyte all the way to the sequel trilogy. Now, over the last couple of months, we've had some big reveals in the visual guide and the Art of the Acolyte book. These are reveals which went pretty viral over the last couple of days, but I covered them back in August. So in case you're out of the loop, the lowdown is this: Qimir might not be an actual Sith. The visual guide describes him as an imposter of sorts. The reason Darth Plagueis was probably interested in him is he was mimicking the Sith, the true Sith, Darth Tenebrous and Darth Plagueis. There is also the possibility that Qimir is Darth Venomous, maybe one of Tenebrous's secret apprentices, and just like in Legends, maybe if there were to be a Season 2, Plagueis would kill Qimir. And separately, my friends, an idea which Leslie Headland was trying to explore further is the notion that Qimir, the Stranger, was the first Knight of Ren, the originator of the philosophy of the shadow. That's what they call it, and their perspective of the dark side of the Force might have originated with Qimir and his apprentice, Osha. And with that as the foundation, we can go into today's theory. Much further down the timeline, in the Legacy of Vader comics, set between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, Kylo Ren, who is no longer with the Knights, encounters their new leader, a woman called Tavaren. Now, I've been covering every single issue of this comic run, and today we're going to be looking at the latest issue, one which expands who this woman was. She's a bold and brash Force user who calls herself the heir to the dark shadow, and someone who was once a mercenary studying the dark side of the Force and was attracted to the Ren philosophy before she became the new leader of the Knights. She resonates with her understanding of the dark side. But one of the most fascinating things about Tava is her belief in the power of two. She believes the power of the shadow is stronger with two instead of one, which is why she tries to entice Kylo. Is she emulating a belief which originated with the first Ren? Now, given the new revelations in recent weeks and months, and given how Qimir and Osha were about to start a relationship, at least according to hints given by Leslie Headland, I wonder if they had children. Because the show is never getting a second season, we'll never know for certain, but we can speculate. And a wild theory that I have is, given the way Tavaren describes herself, given her affinity for the dark side, and some have pointed out maybe similarities in her appearance, could she be the descendant of Osha and Qimir? Maybe she is the heiress to the Knights of Ren in more ways than one. Maybe she is the biological descendant of the first Ren. Timeline-wise, that would make her the great or great-great-granddaughter of the two. It's just a crazy theory, but as Star Wars fans, we love to make connections like this, so I wouldn't necessarily write it off. I do love poetic links between different eras, especially considering Tavaren came up against Kylo Ren, the descendant of one of the greatest Jedi, and I guess Sith, who ever lived. Let's dive into the comic, and I'll let you decide for yourself. Tavaren sneaks onto the Finalizer, the flagship of the First Order, where Supreme Leader Kylo Ren looks upon her. "You are Tava, a Knight of Ren." Kylo ignites his lightsaber. It throws Tava aback. She gets back on her feet and says, "Easy now, Kylo." She then ignites her own crimson blade. "Don't you want to know why I've come to you today?" Kylo can't be bothered to hear her out. No, not at all. A First Order officer standing there with stormtroopers starts to freak out, so he instructs them to fire at the leader of the Knights. But Kylo doesn't want this. He force pushes all of the stormtroopers away. "No, leave her to me." And this is when Kylo and Tava fight one-on-one, and she says, "This is more fun than you've had in ages, isn't it?" and then he remembers fighting the Praetorians alongside Rey. What did you think you'd achieve by coming here? The Knights of Ren mean nothing to me. Not anymore. Is that right? She asks him, unconvinced. Then why do you still carry their name? You are Kylo Ren, are you not? They are in awe of you, Kylo. Vicrol, Cardo, all of them. They are in awe and terrified. But personally, I don't see it. Enraged, Kylo grabs her lightsaber. He holds the blades up to her neck, similar to the way Anakin put his and Dooku's saber up to Tyrannus in Revenge of the Sith. This is when she panics. Before you kill me, the things only you and I can talk about, the things we've learned, the secrets of the shadow. Who else in your life can have those conversations with you? I think, and again, just my fan theory, the secrets of the shadow might go back to the teachings of Qimir, the first Ren, the one who every leader has tried to emulate over the generations. Tavaren exclaims, who else in your life can have those conversations with you? So I think she's trying to say that both of them have intimate knowledge of the dark side, and because they're both powerful and have experienced what she calls the shadow, they could work together, almost trying to be his Osha, if that makes sense. She asks if she can have dinner with him. He puts his sabers down and agrees. So later that evening, Kylo asks her, where are the other Knights of Ren? Oh, they're around. They just didn't want to come. Huh, smarter than I'd give them credit for. Before we talk about anything else, Tavaren continues, there's something that you should know. I'm not just Tavaren, I'm Tavaren. Up until this point, Kylo didn't realize that she was truly the leader of the Knights, and he responds, you took control of that band of fools. I'm curious as to how, but more interested in why. I'm surprised they're still alive. When I left them, they were terrified little roach rats, scurrying away, looking for somewhere to hide. Simple enough, Tavaren answers him. You treated them like garbage. I treated them like a prize. They stuck together after you abandoned them. It's what they'd always done, but they were shattered. They took on a job as muscle for a gang leader named Badat. Can you imagine it? The Knights of Ren, all that history, that legacy, shaking down shopkeepers for protection money. It was pathetic. But back then, I was running with Badat too. I was one of his mercenary enforcers. I didn't advertise it, but I could touch the shadow. It came in handy on the job, but that's also how I recognized the Knights. I'd studied the dark side of the Force as much as I could. There's still knowledge out there, in the hidden places. So when I overheard Trajan talking about the Ren, I knew what he meant. I knew who they had to be. I didn't approach them at first. If they were keeping a low profile, there had to be a reason. But then one day, the Knights screwed up their job. They killed the wrong guy. Their leader was furious. Badat tossed them in a cell. He was going to kill them, execute them as an example. That didn't seem right. It seemed like such a waste. I wanted better for them and for myself. And so, I revealed myself to them, set them free if I could run with their crew. But if I wanted to join, the Knights had a code, what they called a good death. Don't know if that was the kind of good they were talking about, but it was good enough. I took control, and here we are. And listen to the way she talks about the history of the Knights, the legacy, the fact she knew so much about them before joining them. I think it'd be a cool nod if they confirmed that she was part of the Ren bloodline. She does put emphasis on being the heiress to the group. So then, in reacting to her story, Kylo says, you gave me the how, not the why. You came here alone. But for what? You said you were in service. How can you serve me? Well, I have to be honest. My original plan was to kill you, Kylo Ren. I would have gone back to the other Knights and told them that the bogeyman was dead. Given them a very good death, you might say. But that was before I met you. More particularly, I've touched you through the shadow. I'm sure you've done the same to me. I know you in a way only people like us can know each other. And this is another reason I'm convinced the theory could work, because Qimir and Osha worked as a team, but they were also in love. As Leslie Headland said, she really played into the seduction of the dark side. And if Tavaren knows the history of the Knights, and she found out at their origins there were 2 founding members, maybe she wants to draw upon the same connection with Kylo, some kind of dark side force dyad, because she does say, the shadow touched us both. And then this is probably the craziest bit of the entire comic. She launches at him and kisses him. He pushes her away and then calls for her execution. She is met by stormtroopers who cannot take her down. She fights them off, gets back in her ship, and escapes in the nick of time. And in a really strange way, I think Kylo Ren allowed her to escape. And her final words before the comic ends are for the Shadow and for the Ren.